All right, I know this might sound like a weird combo at first, autism and Buddhism, but stick with me, okay? I'm not chanting mantras on a mountain somewhere, though honestly a solo retreat sounds kind of nice. But I am someone who was diagnosed autistic later in life, and I've spent a lot of time trying to understand myself better. So in this video, I want to share how the key principles of Buddhism could help you improve your life as an autistic adult without trying to change who you are. So let's go. Welcome, my stars of Orion. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones. How can Buddhist wisdom help autistic adults thrive in a neurotypical world? Now, these principles have helped me live better as an autistic person. They don't try to fix you. They don't ask you to be less of yourself. They help you be yourself. And that's rare. So let's start with a big one, Dooka. Dooka is a principle around life being inherently uncomfortable, and that's okay. Buddhism says that life involves suffering, discomfort, dissatisfaction. It's not personal, it's not your fault. It's just part of being a human. Honestly, that hit hard because as an autistic person, I've spent pretty much my entire life thinking my life felt harder because I was wrong or I was doing something wrong. Like I just wasn't coping as well as everyone else. I was broken. But this concept, it's like, no, discomfort is part of life, especially when the world isn't set up for the autistic brain. And frankly, Dooka can help you stop blaming yourself for every meltdown, shutdown, sensory overload, outburst. I mean, we still have them, but I no longer think it's because I'm broken. I think, well, this is uncomfortable, but this is not unnatural. Next up is anicca, or impermanence. Can I just say this principle of impermanence is one of the most important principles that really resonated deeply with me. Anicca, or impermanence, is what it is. Everything changes. Nothing lasts forever. No feeling, no moment, no meltdown. If you're autistic like me, change isn't exactly our best friend. We like things to stay the same. Predictability, safety, familiarity. I hate that word. But at the same time, we can get stuck in really difficult moments, have anxiety spirals, emotional shutdowns, burnout. And it can feel like they'll never end. It's never going to get better. But this idea that even this will pass, this idea says no emotion lasts forever. That actually has helped me so much because when I'm overwhelmed, I don't have to fight it. I can just ride it out, knowing that it won't last. And I've started gently applying that to change too. Like, it still sucks when things don't go right or the way you want them to do, but you have to remind yourself, this isn't forever, and I can adapt. And this is a great lesson too for parents, carers, teachers, partners of autistic people. If they're having a meltdown or a shutdown, an outburst, something that is very autistic, too autistic for you, you should remember this too, this principle of impermanence. This will not last forever. Okay, this one is deep, anatta, or no fixed self. Okay, so the idea is there's no permanent, unchanging you. We're always shifting, evolving, responding to life. Now, again, at first, I didn't love this because as an autistic person, I actually cling to my sense of self. So my routines, my identity, it feels like my safety net. But also, I spent a lot of time believing that I had to pick one version of me and stick to it. Some might class that as the high functioning version or the acceptable neurotypical version, the one people could understand or accept. Now, this idea of no fixed self gave me permission to be all my versions, to be me in all my glory. The shutdown version, no worries. The social version. The burnt out, on the couch for 3 days version. They're all me. And none of them are the real me more than any others. They're all valid. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to mask. You're allowed to unmask. You're allowed to grow. It's all still you. When you start questioning yourself, just ask, what do I need right now? Not, who am I supposed to be right now? Let's talk about mindfulness or sati. Everyone loves to talk about mindfulness, right? Okay, cool. It's trendy. But actually for autistic people, I think it's crucial. And that's why I say this in a lot of videos. Mindfulness is just being aware of what's actually happening without reacting immediately. Now, if you're autistic, you probably know how fast things can escalate, especially when you're overloaded from sensory triggers, okay? Or you're emotionally dysregulated. So for me, mindfulness is definitely not sitting cross-legged, I couldn't even do that, and breathing like a beautifully peaceful monk. No, it's noticing that my body's tensing up. Before I snap, oh, okay, realizing, hey, I haven't eaten in 6 hours. Is that why everything feels really bad right now? Yeah, it's knowing when I need to stim or go for a walk, get some fresh air, or just shut the world out for a bit. There's a reason for that. I should do that. See, mindfulness gives the autistic brain, in a way, a pause button. It doesn't fix everything. It just slows down the spiral. So you're noticing without judgment. You're just noticing what's happening before you reach that spiral. And if you want it, once a day, for example, just stop. Just for a second and ask yourself, what am I sensing right now? What am I feeling right now? That's mindfulness. The next Buddhist principle I want to talk about is non-attachment. Yeah, this is a tough one, non-attachment. So letting go of control. Buddhism teaches us to let go of clinging to outcomes, identities, and ideas. I think there's a quote, something like, you can only lose what you cling to. Now, as an autistic person, I'm deeply attached to everything, to my routines, my interests, the control I have over the safety net of my life, predictability. But I've learned that clinging too tightly can actually make things worse. See, if I cling really tightly to my day and my routine and my day gets thrown off and I can't recover, it's probably because I've built up this internal rule that things have to go this way. So when I can loosen my grip, even just a little, I suffer less. Yeah, I still like structure. That's not going to change. But I've learnt to hold it more gently. This one is a beautiful one, if not a little confronting. Metta, or loving kindness. Now, it's the practice of offering compassion to others and to yourself. Now, if you're autistic, especially a late diagnosed autistic person, you probably have a very long history of being misunderstood, judged, definitely by yourself. You probably are really hard on yourself. I am, always have been. You don't know how to act or respond in a certain situation. You've burnt out again. You're not easy to live with. People don't get you. Well, metta helps you to start talking to yourself like someone you actually care about. See, it's not just a compassion for others, it's compassion for yourself. Talk to yourself badly, what do you expect? Talk to yourself like you actually care about yourself. Now, I'm still working on this. But sometimes now I can just say to myself, I'm not broken. I'm doing my best. And that is enough. And the final Buddhism principle I want to talk about is the idea of the middle way. So not swinging between extremes, but finding a sustainable balance. Now, as an autistic person, I tend to live in extremes. All in, all out. Passionate, disinterested. Burnt out, hyper-focused. Isolated, overstimulated. The middle way reminds me that I don't have to push until I crash. I can rest before I hit the wall. I can say enough instead of yes to everything until I simply disappear. It's not natural for me. I get that. It's probably not natural for you. But it's something I'm practicing and you should too, slowly but surely. You could ask yourself, what's a softer, middle version of this? And then try that. Clearly, these Buddhism principles aren't rules. They're not checklists. They're just ideas that have helped me unlearn shame, cope better, and live more gently as myself. Not despite being autistic, but because I finally stopped fighting it. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And to learn more about late diagnosis, check out my playlist, Autism Diagnosis for Adults.